Welcome to the Deconstructionist Deep Dive.
The podcast that doesn't just accept the story.
We break it
We examine the pieces.
and expose the machinery inside.
Let's dive in.
What if everything we're being told about masculine containment and the crisis of femininity isn't just misguided, but deliberately engineered to keep consciousness trapped in polarity and hierarchy?
That is a heavy question to start the day with, isn't it?
It is.
But we need to be really clear. Today, we are not looking at, relationship advice columns or dating tips.
Not at all. We are looking at a blueprint, an architectural drawing for a system of control.
Exactly. What we have in front of us is a set of documents, really. An analysis guide that outlines a very specific and I would say very potent ideology.
It calls itself a guide on containment. But this isn't, holding space for someone emotionally in a therapeutic sense.
No.
We are talking about an operational manual for what the source material explicitly calls radical gender polarity.
And I think it's important right from the start to say that we're treating this source material as a closed-loop system.
Yes.
Our mission today isn't to debate whether it's good or bad. It's to trace the wiring.
We're acting like electricians. We're not just looking at the claims on the surface. We're looking at the architecture of the belief system itself.
Yeah.
How does it power itself?
Right. And the source material itself gives us the name for that. It calls it the architecture of containment.
And when you really read through these 14 nodes of ideology, and then you look at the deception matrix that goes with them, you realize this isn't just about men and women in a relationship.
No, it's about power. It's about fear. And it's about a very, very specific kind of transaction.
An energetic transaction. That's the term the analysis guide uses, right? The primary directive.
That's the one. And what we're going to do today is trace that loop. It's a full circuit. It starts with axioms. These things you're just told are undeniable, fundamental truths.
Bedrock principles.
Exactly. From there, it moves to emotional livers. And it's very specific about which one. Fear.
And once it's triggered that fear, it promises safety.
Then it issues commands that are mystified, made to sound spiritual or cosmic.
And finally, it offers this kind of deferred salvation, a reward that, never quite arrives.
It's always just over the horizon.
Always. So let's start at the beginning, the foundation. The source identifies what it calls foundational axioms.
The inescapable truths.
Right. And the very first one, node 1, well, it's intense. It's labeled perpetual female fear.
This is the bedrock. This is the cornerstone of the entire structure.
And the claim here is that women, just by their very nature, exist in a baseline state of constant perpetual fear.
Let's just pause on that for a second because it's so fundamental.
We have to.
It's not saying women get scared sometimes or that the world is a dangerous place.
No.
It's saying the baseline operating system of the feminine is terror, that chaos and fear are her native language.
The source material is very explicit about this. It frames the feminine essence as being chaotic, ungrounded, and just. Fundamentally terrified of the infinite possibilities of life.
Yeah, it posits that without an external structure, which is defined as the masculine, the feminine is essentially just drowning. Drowning in a sea of overwhelming sensation and anxiety.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate for a moment because I can hear the counter-argument already.
Go for it.
People will say, look, biologically, historically, women have often been more physically vulnerable. There's an evolutionary basis for higher threat detection, for being more cautious. So isn't this ideology just amplifying a biological reality, taking a kernel of truth and running with it?
And that is exactly how they sell it. That's the hook. That's the bait.
It's a distortion.
It's a massive distortion. They take a grain of evolutionary psychology, the idea that females of a species might have, higher risk aversion in certain contexts for very good reason.
Like protecting offspring.
Right. And they inflate that into an ontological absolute, a spiritual law.
Can you break that down? Ontological absolute.
It means it's no longer about behavior, it's about being. There's a massive difference between the statement, I am cautious because the world can be dangerous, and the statement, my very soul is made of fear.
Right. One is a reaction to the environment, a strategy.
A strategy you can change.
And the other is a definition of the self, a permanent state.
Exactly. If I'm cautious, I can take a self-defense class. I can, learn to shoot a gun. I can get physically strong. I have agency.
You can mitigate the risk.
But if my very essence is fear, then no amount of training can fix me. I am by design broken, and if I'm broken by design...
Then you need a fix that comes from the outside. You can't fix yourself.
Bingo. And that is what our source material calls emotional farming.
Emotional farming.
Yeah.
If I want to sell you a bunker, first I have to convince you that the sky is falling. If this ideology wants to sell masculine containment as a non-negotiable necessity, it first has to convince half the population that they are congenitally incapable of feeling safe on their own. It's a marketing funnel. Create the disease to sell the cure.
That's it.
But it's just so incredibly insulting when you actually stop and think about it. I mean, just look at the world. We have women who are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, women reporting from war zones, climbing Everest, starting businesses from scratch.
Right, taking massive risks every single day.
Are we supposed to believe that deep down in their essence, they are just trembling leaves waiting for a big, strong man to come and hold them?
Well, according to this framework, yes. Absolutely yes.
But how does it account for them then? What's the explanation?
The system has a built-in defense for your examples. It would simply say those women are masculinized, or that they're armored, that they've built a false, brittle shell around their true, terrified feminine nature. They are, in essence, denying their own core reality.
Which is just so convenient, isn't it?
It's imperfect.
If you're strong and independent, you're actually just wounded and doing it wrong.
Precisely. Your strength is evidence of your brokenness. And this flows directly into the second axiom, which is node 2, gender polarity.
Okay.
The ideology claims that our modern world has made a huge mistake. It's falsely conflated equality with sameness.
I've heard this argument a lot.
It's a very common talking point, and it asserts that the masculine and feminine are not just different, but are radically distinct essences. And because they are so distinct, they require hierarchical roles to function correctly.
Require hierarchy. That's the load-bearing beam right there, isn't it?
That's everything.
It's not just saying men and women are different like salt and pepper. They're complementary.
No.
It's saying men and women are different like a pilot and a passenger, or a sculptor in the clay.
Yes, exactly. One is active, the other is passive. And the source material actually references some pretty heavy philosophical concepts here to back this up.
It does. It talks about Platonic forms and the Confucian yin-yang hierarchy.
Right. So for anyone listening who maybe hasn't dusted off their Philosophy 101 textbook in a while, let's break that down. What are they trying to do by bringing up Plato?
Well, they're trying to give their social rules a cosmic pedigree.
Make it sound ancient and wise.
Exactly. Plato talked about these ideal forms, the perfect abstract idea of a thing that exists on some higher plane. So there's a form of a chair, and all the chairs in our world are just imperfect copies.
Okay.
By invoking that, they're trying to say, this hierarchy we're describing, this isn't just something we made up because it benefits one group. This is the cosmic blueprint.
Yeah.
This is the form of man and the form of woman.
This is how the universe itself is built.
Right. It naturalizes the power structure. You can argue with a social convention. You can argue with a politician.
But you can't argue with the fabric of reality.
You can't argue with gravity. And if they can convince you that man leads, woman follows, is as fundamental as gravity, then resisting it starts to feel like madness.
It feels like you're fighting nature itself. And you will, of course, lose.
And to make this abstract gravity feel more real, more tangible, they use a metaphor, a very specific visual.
Yes. The clamshell.
We have to spend some time on that.
Oh, we do. So this comes from Node 3, Containment Necessity.
The source describes this visualization where the feminine essence is a soft, vulnerable, fleshy clam.
And the masculine essence is the hard, protective, calcified clamshell around it.
It's evocative.
It's horrifying. I mean, really, actually picture it. You're on a date, you're looking across the table at someone, and you're thinking to yourself, God, I really hope I can be a rock-hard, unfeeling, calcified shell for this quivering piece of meat.
And she's sitting there thinking, I am so soft and directionless. I hope he can encase me so I don't get eaten by a metaphorical seagull.
That's absurd. But let's actually deconstruct the biology of this metaphor for a second because it's so incredibly revealing.
Let's do it.
A clam is a very primitive organism.
It's a filter feeder. It just sits there.
It has no eyes, not really. It has no brain to speak of. It's
Yeah.
basically just a stomach and some gonads wrapped in a muscle.
And it is completely immobile.
Yes. It digs into the mud and it waits for the world to bring it food. Is that really the ideal vision of the feminine? Inert, blind, helpless, and tasty.
And then look at the masculine role in this metaphor. The shell.
The shell is dead tissue.
It's dead. It's a calcified secretion. It has no feeling. It can't grow or change. It can only get thicker. Its only job is to be hard and unyielding.
So what you're describing as the ideal relationship is one partner who is a helpless, inert victim and another partner who is an unfeeling, dead wall.
It's not a relationship, it's a sarcophagus.
The source material analyzes this specific metaphor under the category of bafflement.
Bafflement. That's a great term.
It's a technique of mystifying dominance, of using poetic or esoteric language to hide a very simple power dynamic.
Right. If you just said to your partner, I want to control where you go, who you see, and what you do, that sounds like abuse.
It is abuse.
But if you say, my love, I am providing the necessary structural integrity for your chaotic oceanic essence.
It sounds profound. It sounds spiritual.
It sounds deep. Bafflement. It's using poetry to hide the prison bars.
It also, and this is the most ridiculous part, completely ignores the actual biology of a clam.
How so?
In a real clam, the shell and the meat are the same organism.
Right. The clam grows its own shell.
The clam doesn't go out and find a shell boyfriend to jump inside of. It creates its own boundaries from its own being.
It's self-contained.
But this ideology has to split the human being in half. It has to tell the woman, you are all the feelings, but you have no boundaries. And it has to tell the man, you are all the boundaries, but you have no feelings.
Which is a guarantee of codependency.
Complete codependency. You literally cannot be a whole person without the other half. It's not a partnership. It's a life support system
Right.
where you've each outsourced a critical function of your own psyche to the other person.
And once you've accepted that premise, that you are incomplete, that you're just a clam waiting for a shell, then you're ready for the next part.
You're ready for machinery.
You're ready to be operated.
Okay, so the blueprint is established. Woman is fear. Man is structure. The ideal relationship is the shell protecting the clam.
So now we have to look at how this actually operates day to day. How do you run the system? What are the instructions?
This brings us to the second section in the guide, the machinery, and specifically a core concept in Node 5, positive ownership.
Positive ownership. Just that phrase. It's so slippery.
It is.
It sounds like something from a corporate HR seminar, you know. Take positive ownership of your projects. But here, it means owning a person.
The source defines it as benevolent possession. The claim is that the masculine must treat the feminine's best interests as inseparable from his own.
Okay, let's play the advocate again. What's the pitch for this? Why would a man think this is a good and noble thing to do?
The pitch is pure old-school chivalry. It's the fantasy of the knight protecting the princess.
I've gotcha.
I've got you. You don't have to worry about the bills, the scary world, the direction of your life. I'm taking that burden completely off your shoulders.
I'm treating you like precious cargo.
Exactly. And that can sound really appealing, can it? Everyone wants to be taken care of sometimes.
Of course. But there has to be a catch.
Here's the catch. The source analyzes this as a mechanism of suppressed sovereignty. Just think about that phrase for a second.
Yeah.
I will treat your best interests as inseparable from my own.
It means I get to decide what your best interests are.
Precisely. It doesn't say, I will ask you what you think your best interests are and support you. It says, I will treat them as my own.
Which means my perspective is the only one that matters.
Yes. The analogy I use is owning a prized racehorse. I treat that horse's best interests as my own. I feed it the best oats. I hire the best vets. I groom it every single day. I might even love that horse.
But the horse doesn't get a vote.
The horse does not get to decide that it wants to retire and go live in a wild herd.
Because the horse is an asset. Its purpose is to win races for me.
And that's where the source draws a parallel to feudal liege lord dynamics. The lord had a duty to protect the serfs on his land.
A kind of stewardship.
Right. The serf belonged to the land, and the lord managed the land. The lord wasn't supposed to be wantonly cruel. That would be bad stewardship of his assets. But the serf had no say in the running of the manor.
So positive ownership is just rebranding possession as benevolence. It's saying, I own you, but don't worry, I'm a nice owner.
And because I'm such a nice owner, you shouldn't ever want to leave. Any desire for autonomy on your part is a sign of what?
Ungratefulness.
Yeah.
Or foolishness. You don't know what's good for you.
Exactly. And this creates a really dangerous dynamic when it comes to consent, doesn't it?
It erases it.
It makes it irrelevant, because if I truly own your well-being, I don't need to ask you what you want. I already know. I have the strategic view.
You're just inside the shell. You can't see the whole ocean.
Which brings us to the enforcement mechanism. This is where it gets really dark. Node 10, unconditional leadership.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
It is. The claim here is men must provide containment and lead regardless of female receptivity.
Regardless of female receptivity.
It is framed as a non-negotiable masculine expression.
Let's just translate that into plain English. It means do it even if she says no.
It means her no is treated as noise, it's static, is her fear talking, not her true self.
This is the part of the ideology that for me is the most terrifying. Because if a woman says, hey, I don't want you to reorganize my finances without asking me, or I don't want you to tell me how to dress, or please stop telling me who my friend should be.
In the real world, we call that controlling behavior. We call it a giant red flag.
But this ideology takes that red flag and reframes it as a green light. It calls it unconditional leadership.
It actually reframes the violation of boundaries as a test of the man's resolve.
What do you mean?
If he stops just because she complained, he's seen as collapsing. He's failing his duty. He's letting her trauma run the show. He's failing to be the shell.
So he has to ignore her expressed wishes for her own good.
He is duty-bound to push past her resistance. That is his sacred obligation in this system.
And the source lists the ingredients for this containment, doesn't it? The specific actions.
It does. It uses these very corporate, almost managerial terms. Energetic envelopment, attunement, situation creation and management, and structure and direction.
Situation creation.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're a video game designer building a level for a player.
That's a perfect analogy. The man becomes the operator, the architect of the reality.
And the woman is the asset, or the user, who inhabits the reality he has created for her.
Which brings up the most logical question of all.
Why? Why would any woman agree to this? And for that matter, why would any man want this crushing burden?
To answer that, we have to look at Section 3 of the guide. The immune system.
The immune system.
Every good virus, every successful ideology has a built-in way to stop the host body from fighting it off.
Yeah. And for this ideology, that defense mechanism is Node 9, resistance as trauma.
This is, in my opinion, the psychological masterstroke of the entire system. It's the checkmate move.
So what's the claim?
The claim is, female rejection of containment is always a trauma response.
Always. There are no exceptions.
The source states, and this is a direct quote from the analysis, no woman truly properly executed containment.
Wow. That is a trap. It's a perfect logical circle.
It's hermetically sealed. There is no air in, no air out. Think about it.
Okay.
If a woman accepts the control, great. The system is working perfectly.
But if a woman rejects the control?
It simply proves she is traumatized or wounded from her past, and therefore she needs even more control, more containment, to feel safe and heal.
Her no becomes the justification for applying more pressure.
Her protest is the evidence that the initial diagnosis was correct.
That is just. It's gaslighting, codified as spiritual doctrine. It creates a scenario where a woman literally cannot have a valid disagreement. Her own mind is used as a weapon against her.
The technical term the source uses for this is epistemic control.
Break that down for us. Epistemic control.
Okay, so epistemology is just the philosophical study of knowledge. How do we know what we know? How do we know what's true?
Right.
So if I have epistemic control over you, I get to be the arbiter of your reality. I get to tell you whether your own thoughts and feelings are valid.
Could you give an example?
A simple one is if you say, I'm cold, and I say, no, you're not. You just think you're cold because you're tired, and you actually start to believe me over your own physical sensations.
You have epistemic control.
I do. So in this context, a woman says, I hate this. I feel suffocated and controlled. And the ideology, through the man, says, no, you don't really hate it. You're just afraid of true intimacy because of your past trauma. That feeling of suffocation is actually what love and safety feel like. You've just forgotten.
And because the foundational axiom is women are fear, her feelings of panic are easily dismissed. They're not a valid signal that something is wrong.
No, they're just her nature acting up. Her intuition is completely invalidated and pathologized.
The source material connects this to the colonial civilizing mission. I found that comparison really, really striking.
It's the exact same logic, just scaled down to the domestic sphere. Think about how colonial empires justified taking over other nations.
They didn't say, we want your resources.
No, they said, these people are savages. They're chaotic. They don't know how to govern themselves properly. We are bringing them order. We are bringing them civilization. We're doing this for their own good.
They just don't know what's good for them yet.
Right. And what happened if the savages rebelled? Was it seen as a valid political protest for self-determination?
No, it was hysteria. It was barbarism. It was ingratitude.
Exactly. The colonizer always views himself as the benevolent parent and the colonized as the unruly child. The protest just proves the child needs more discipline.
So this ideology is effectively a blueprint for domestic colonialism. You are colonizing your partner's psyche,
And just like in historical colonialism, you have to create a boogeyman. You have to villainize anyone who suggests freedom or equality. And that brings us to Node 7, feminism's error.
Yes. The great enemy.
Of course. The claim in the source is that feminism made a terrible mistake. It threw the baby out with the bathwater, it discarded valid natural hierarchy, and in its place injected masculine hatred into the culture.
And this masculine hatred supposedly trained men into what the source calls destructive passivity.
Yes, destructive passivity. And this is where we see the trap for the men, because we've talked a lot about how the system traps women.
But the men are in a pressure cooker too, aren't they? That's what Node 8 suggests.
It's what the source calls the virtue trap. Node 8 states it very bluntly. Passivity will absolutely destroy a man's life.
So let's lay out the man's choice according to this ideology.
Okay.
Option A, be a container, be the shell. Dominate your partner benevolently, ignore her no for her own good, and basically carry the weight of her entire reality on your shoulders.
A heavy burden.
Option B, be passive, be a collaborative partner, a nice guy, and as a result, be destroyed. Your life will be annihilated.
Those are the only two options presented.
It's a classic false dichotomy. It completely erases the vast middle ground.
Where is partnership in that equation? Where is collaboration?
Where is, hey, I'll cook dinner if you do the dishes.
That doesn't exist in this universe.
No.
According to this ideology, if you're doing the dishes alongside her as an equal, you are failing to contain the kitchen dynamics.
You're slipping into the feminine role. You're dissolving. You're becoming passive.
And that passivity will destroy you, so it links a man's very survival to his willingness to dominate.
It plays on a very deep and very real male insecurity, doesn't it? The fear of being useless, the fear of being weak or irrelevant.
Absolutely. This ideology comes along and tells men, if you are not in charge, you are nothing. The only way to have value is to be the shell.
So the woman is trapped by her supposed fear of the world, and the man is trapped by his fear of his own irrelevance.
It's a system powered by high-octane anxiety, all while masquerading as a system of order and safety.
But surely, fear can't be enough to keep this whole thing going forever.
Right.
At some point, people get tired of being afraid.
Yeah.
You need a carrot, not just a stick. You need a prize.
And that brings us to Section 4, the apocalypse and the reward. This is where the story goes from being an interpersonal dynamic to a full-blown mythological quest.
This is the part of the source material that gets, well, surprisingly sci-fi.
It really does. We're looking at nodes 12, 13, and 14. This is the section on civilizational stakes.
So this is the why. Why would a modern man who, probably works in IT or accounting, feel this profound need to act like a feudal lord in his two-bedroom apartment?
Because the ideology tells him he isn't just managing a relationship. He's the last line of defense against the civilizational abyss.
The stakes are raised to the absolute maximal.
The source analysis points to mentions of AI partners and systemic enslavement as the threats. Let's dig into that. Why is artificial intelligence the great enemy in a gender ideology?
It seems like a weird connection to make.
But think about it. We are living in a time of massive uncertainty and existential anxiety. Jobs are being automated. Intelligence, once a key marker of male value, is being outsourced to machines.
Traditional markers of masculine utility, brute physical strength, logical computation, are being eroded by technology every single day.
So men feel obsolete, or at least they fear becoming obsolete.
And this ideology offers a way out. A retreat to the one thing a machine can't do. A retreat to the biological.
Exactly. The logic is the machine can calculate better than you, it can build better than you, but it cannot contain a woman's chaotic feminine essence.
It returns the man to a realm of what it calls flesh and blood sovereignty, something primal that can't be automated.
It's a powerful reaction against the digital age. The message is, the world out there is becoming a disconnected, meaningless hive mind, but my house, my relationship, is a kingdom, and I am the king.
So it uses technophobia, the very real fear of the AI future, to validate retrogender roles.
The ultimatum is, if we don't go back to the clamshell model, we will all end up dating robots and eating bug paste in pods.
It raises the personal stakes to a messianic level. The man isn't just trying to have a successful relationship or get a girlfriend.
No, he is saving humanity from the Matrix. He is a warrior against the decline of the West.
It's a hell of an ego boost to compensate for that feeling of insecurity and irrelevance.
And what's the promise? If he fights this grand war, if he takes on this burden, what does he get in the end?
The reward, which is node 14, the deferred reward.
And deferred is the most important word in that phrase.
Absolutely. The promise is that if men successfully reclaim their dominant roles, and if women finally surrender, soften, and receive that leadership,
A lot of ifs.
a lot of ifs, then and only then will men become energetically nourished by the feminine.
Energetically nourished. It sounds almost like vampirism when you put it that way.
It is a form of energetic feeding, according to the source, but notice the timing.
It's always in the future. It's never now.
It's what the analysis calls the reincarnation lure. Paradise is coming. Just keep suffering a little longer. Keep pushing.
It's the ultimate carrot on a stick. Is your relationship still full of conflict? Is she still resisting you? Well, you just haven't contained her hard enough yet. Keep going. The reward is just around the corner.
But because the fundamental premise is false, because women are not, in fact, helpless, terrified clams, that true, radiant surrender never actually happens.
Or if it does, it looks a lot more like depression and learned helplessness than it does radiance.
So the promised nourishment never comes. The man just gets more and more exhausted from the effort of constantly managing her reality.
And the woman is crushed under the weight of it. But the ideology's only answer is, don't stop. You're almost there. Double down.
It's a tragic, self-perpetuating cycle of misery.
A perfectly closed loop. Which brings us to the most important part of our deep dive.
The deconstruction. The exit. How to break the loop.
The source provides a fantastic tool for this. It's called the Deconstruction Matrix.
We've touched on some of these already, but I want to go through them rapid fire. To name the specific deceptions that are identified in the text. This is about naming the demons, so to speak.
Let's do it.
Okay. Deception 1. Frequency harvest.
This is the idea that the system runs on the energy of polarity. It literally harvests the tension between the protector and the victim.
So it needs the problem to exist.
It requires the problem. If you actually solve the fear, if the woman becomes sovereign and unafraid, the energy stops, the circuit breaks. So the system has a vested interest in keeping the fear alive. It feeds on the gap between the two people.
It monetizes the distance between them. Deception 2. False salvation.
This is the core lie, that containment is sacred symbiosis. It takes the beautiful idea of mutual sovereignty two, free, whole people choosing each other, and replaces it with benevolent domination.
It sells a cage as a temple.
And it tells you that your smallness, your helplessness, is actually a form of holiness.
Deception 5. Gaslighting.
We covered this one in detail. It's the no means trauma argument, the denial of authentic refusal.
It makes genuine consent impossible.
Because yes is the only answer the system accepts as sane.
Deception 11. Bafflement.
This is the clamshell metaphor. It's the use of poetic, esoteric, spiritual-sounding language to naturalize a simple hierarchy.
It's the selective biology trick.
Exactly. They pick the clam because it fits the narrative. They conveniently don't pick the praying mantis, where the female often eats the male's head after mating.
If we based our gender roles on the praying mantis, this would be a very different deep dive.
Or on anglerfish, where the male is a tiny parasite that literally fuses to the female's body.
Or seahorses, where the males carry the babies.
Nature is infinitely varied and complex. This ideology cherry-picks one specific immobile mollusk and has the audacity to say, this is universal law.
And the last one I want to hit is Deception 12. False dichotomy.
Women are responsive, men must lead. It's the ancient Aristotelian idea of active and passive forms, the sculptor and the clay.
It denies co-creation.
It kills the jazz.
Kills the jazz. I like that.
A jazz ensemble requires everyone to listen and everyone to play. It's a conversation. This is a military march. One person calls the cadence, everyone else walks in step.
So, we see the machinery, we've named the deceptions. Now for the big question. How do we get out? The source calls this the rebellious synthesis, the escape velocity protocol.
I love that name. Escape velocity.
Me too.
Because it acknowledges that the gravity of this is real, the cultural pressure, the internal anxieties that push people into these boxes. It's heavy. You have to push back and push hard to break orbit.
And the source says the very first step is to recognize the meta-deception, the lie behind all the other lies.
And that core lie is this: safety and harmony await you if you just accept your assigned role in the hierarchy. The great escape begins the moment you realize the hierarchy is the danger.
You aren't safe because the shell is protecting you. You are unsafe precisely because you are trapped in a shell that is preventing you from growing.
That's the paradigm shift. So step one of the protocol is just that. Recognize the loop, see the transaction for what it is, say to yourself, I am trading my autonomy for a promise of safety that never actually arrives.
Step 2. Refuse the emotional harvest.
This is hard. This is the active part. It means rejecting the fear script that was handed to you. If you're the person in the feminine role in this dynamic, it means standing on your own 2 feet and saying, I am not made of fear. I am capable. I can handle the world. I do not need a human filter.
And what about if you're the person in the masculine role?
It means putting down the shield. It means having the courage to be vulnerable. It means realizing I do not need to be a hero to be worthy of love. I can just be a human being.
It means rejecting the savior complex. You don't need to save her from the chaos. Maybe the chaos is where her creativity comes from. Maybe it's not something to be contained, but something to be celebrated.
Step 3. Reject the deferred reward.
Stop waiting for the energetic nourishment of the future. Stop living for a payday that will never come. Look at what is happening in the relationship now.
Is there joy now? Is there mutual respect now? Is there connection now? Or is it all just work and struggle and the promise of a future that's always out of reach?
And finally, the last step. Step 4. Dissolve the polarity entirely.
This is where the source suggests looking to what it calls counter-traditions, because this radical gender polarity ideology pretends it's the only game in town. But it's not. It's never been.
The source points to Advaita Vedanta non-duality. Can you explain that in simple terms?
Advaita is a very ancient school of Indian philosophy. The word literally means not two. Its core teaching is that separation is an illusion.
Okay.
We aren't two separate, broken halves, man, woman, desperately trying to glue ourselves together to become whole. We are each already whole, just different expressions of the same one reality.
So my partner isn't a different species. She isn't a clam. She is me in a different form. We're made of the same stuff.
Exactly. And you don't need to contain yourself. You just need to be yourself.
The source also mentions stoicism. We usually think of stoicism as, tough guys repressing their emotions, but that's a caricature, isn't it?
It's a total caricature. Real stoicism, the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, is about self-containment.
So not containing others, but containing yourself.
Precisely. It's about being the master of your own mind, your own reactions. A Stoic doesn't try to control the external world, and that includes their partner, because their partner is external. A Stoic controls their own reactions to the world.
So a Stoic relationship would be two sovereign individuals, each managing their own internal state, meeting in the middle out of choice, not need.
The poet Rilke called it two solitudes that protect and touch and greet each other.
And the last counter-tradition mentioned, which I found the most beautiful, was animist horizontal reciprocity.
Horizontal is the key word there. The ideology we've been deconstructing all day is completely vertical, up-down, leader-follower, protector-protected.
But animism is different.
Animism views the world as a web, not a ladder. In an animist worldview, the tree has a spirit, the river has a spirit, the wolf has a spirit. You don't own the river. You can't contain the wolf.
You negotiate with it, you respect it, you offer it gifts and hope it offers gifts in return.
It's a relationship of trade and respect. It's reciprocity. I give to you, you give to me. We meet eye to eye. We are horizontal.
That changes the entire dynamic of a relationship. If I relate to my partner from a place of horizontal reciprocity, I can't contain them. It's not even an option.
No. You can witness them, you can be in dialogue with them, you can love them, but you cannot hold them.
And if you can't hold them, that allows for surprise.
That is the best part, isn't it? If I contain you, I set your limits. I define the walls of your reality. There can be no surprises. But if I let you be free, sovereign, you can surprise me. You can grow in ways I never could have imagined for you.
And isn't that why we fall in love in the first place? To be surprised.
To be expanded, not contained.
The final thesis of the source material sums this all up perfectly. It says, sovereignty is immediate and non-negotiable. No external frequency, neither terror nor salvation can claim what is withheld. True emergence arises horizontally, beyond all containment.
Beyond all containment, that is the goal. To build relationships that aren't cages, no matter how gilded and safe they seem. To build relationships that are launch pads.
And that's our deep dive for this week.
Remember, the most dangerous illusion is the one you don't know you're in.
But now you know. So here's our question for you. Knowing that the promise of safety through containment is the ultimate deception, what is one place in your own life, relationships, or beliefs where you've accepted hierarchy as protection, and what would it look like to refuse it completely?
Let us know in the comments. Question the narrative, deconstruct the dogma, see the system.
We'll see you next time. Stay skeptical.
Thank you for joining us.